Hello and welcome. Today's video is going to be about this little APM Pro. I'm going to show you guys the steps involved installing it into a cx20. I'm going to use the original compass and the original GPS. You have to mod both of them slightly. And I'll also show you how to use it with a Neo and that one too. I have to cut the ends and show you how to add the ends to that. So just treat this video more as if you actually want to get this APM for your cx20 and the steps involved. Mine did come with a power module, but you have to get it with a kit usually. I would probably suggest just buying it separate for like $8 or whatever and just making your own end for it. If you need help with that, just hit me up on YouTube. And same with the GPS. I would just get a normal GPS and then just mod it just to save a couple of bucks or whatever. And then the cables or whatever as well. It comes with a better voltage regulator, so they claim. The marking code on it is WJ equals J1C. And I googled around on that and I can't find any information on it, so I can't say 100% if it truly is a 500 milliamp voltage regulator. And it's supposedly comes with better diodes as well for dual power and stuff like that, so there's no reverse voltages. And yeah, and it comes with more grounds, which is kind of a sad thing to say. With my APM mini video, that one only came with a couple of grounds, where this one comes with at least a lot more grounds on it. So at least they thought that one through. The weight of this guy is 26.34 grams, and coming from the original one, it is 25.6 grams. Right, so I'm just going to jump right into the build right now. The first thing you're going to want to do is plug this guy in, and I'll show you what firmware it actually comes with. Alright, so I always suggest plugging this guy in first just to get that out of the way, because you don't want to do a whole build and then find out that your APM is broken somehow. So open up Mission Planner and connect to it. So here's the little bonus here. It comes with version 3.3 dev, but the sad thing is it's for a hex. So it's not for a quad, and I can't even say for sure if it truly is version 3.3 because I tried some of the parameters anyways, and none of them work, like break and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if it truly is version 3.3. But if you're going to use this for a quadcopter like your cx20, you're going to have to downgrade the firmware from version 3.3. And you can check messages too on yours in case it came with it. But here it doesn't say it's for a quad. And the other hint is under initial setup. You go to optional hardware and you go to motor test. You'll have A, B, C, D, E, F. Where a quadcopter will only have A, B, C, D. And then you can also download the data flash, and it should go into a hex folder. That's another way to find out what it is. Alright, so the very first step here is going to be downgrading it. So go to, well, you can disconnect because you know it works. You can go to HUD actually as well if you want to. If you have the compass and GPS too, if it's just plug and play, you can just plug it in now just to test it to see if it works. But yeah, it works, so it's good. I can disconnect now, and you go to initial setup. Go to install firmware. And then pick previous version. You can actually just click right there. It usually automatically downgrades to version 3.21 anyways. So I'm just going to click on this guy. And it might take you 2 tries to do it. So I'm going to say okay, yep. That's where it says it's going to downgrade it. So I'll just fast forward this. Alright, that's done. The next thing is I'll include my parameters in the description, or you can hit me up in the comments. You have to push connect. So go to config and tuning, which I already is there. And then if you don't see full parameter list or full parameter tree, click on the planner. And then under layout, change it from basic to advanced. And then you should be able to see these two guys here. So you can pick one or the other one. So just go full parameter tree. Go load to, well, you can back up your parameters first just in case. So just go click save the file, name it something, and just tuck it away somewhere. But anyways, click on load to file. And then just choose whichever link I give you in the description or in the comments. In this case, it's my April one. And then click on write params. They should disappear, and then unplug the APM or just click on refresh the parameters. All right, so I'm going to be jumping into the video now. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to show you all the mods first, and then at the end I'll show you how to install it into the cx20. So that part of the video is going to seem a little bit rushed, but it's because I showed you guys earlier all the steps in more detail. So when I actually get to installing it into the cx20, it might go a little bit fast. So that explains why I did it that way. And yeah, my last comment about this guy here is I still would rather have the APM 2.6 or 2.8 because it's just, for me personally, it's still, I think it's still a better APM because it's more plug and play. And for some reason, I just like the design of this guy more. But even with this guy or the APM Mini or whatever, it always, after you actually install it into your quad or whatever, usually you don't really have to do much to it after. So it's more just the convenience of how easy it is to install the first time. And like I said, the APM 2.6 and APM 2.8 just to me seems like a really quicker setup for getting it going. But anyways, enough babbling and into the video I go. Alright, so with the original cx20 GPS, if you want to continue using it, you just have to swap these wires around. So it's actually pretty straightforward. So just remove all these wires out of the harness. Just find a pick or something. This guy's already broken from another project. I don't need that one. Then the way the colors go here is yellow. Actually, I'm going to just yellow, blue, red for your positive, and your ground. So the way it goes is TX, RX, positive, ground, which technically it's reversed on this, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to have to hold the wire here because my thing's broken. So just take your time when you're removing it. When you're using a pick or something, just be careful with these guys. And then now this guy can just simply be plugged right into the bottom. On here where it says GPS and the 4 pins on the bottom. So color codes go like that. You can see my thing's already pretty broken, so you got to make sure it's actually plugged in there pretty good. Okay, so that's good for that. That was an easy one. Next guy here is your compass, if you want to use your original compass. Now because it's all red wires, take your time with this. It's best to do one wire at a time because I believe one of these are flipped. So the way these guys go here is I'll just find a piece of paper and draw it out. Alright, so the way the compass goes, we're going to work with this guy facing downwards, like that. My nice drawing skills. So this first one wire here is your positive. So that's 3 volts. It's important you don't put this guy on 5 volts or you'll fry it instantly. This wire here is SCL. This wire here is SDA. Oh, nice writing. And then this guy's your ground. So it's okay if you get these two reversed, but don't get these two reversed or you'll fry it instantly, possibly your APM as well. So it's really important here, as I always keep saying, it's really important, is just do one wire at a time. Don't remove all the wires at the same time because they're all red. And then you're going to have to find yourself some servo wires. It doesn't really matter about the 2 inner ones, but if you have like one of these cables or whatever, I would just make sure you use the same color codes for at least your black and your red. And then the 2 middle ones, even use white if you really totally have to. But I got a bunch of these guys, so I'm just going to use black, red, and then I'll use white and blue. So with this first guy here, I'm going to pull him back a bit because we can make it a little bit shorter because I'm using some length to it. And I'm probably going to want to repair this cable sometime in life. I'm going to cut this guy. And again, I don't have the right heat shrink, so when I'm doing this, you'll notice my heat shrink is oversized, and that's why. Not sure if this guy can get down there far enough. Nope. So it's good to right now too, if you want, is just write down your color code you're going to use. So I'm using a red wire for here. I'm going to use a black for here. SDA, I'll use blue. And then for SCL, I'll use white. And even take a picture of your own drawing just so you can save it away somewhere because it's easy to lose the paper. Ideally too, in the one red one, you can make a knot in it. I've done that ever since I was about probably 8 years old, is I always make a knot in my red wire. So this way I always know it's the positive. So I can go back to projects I worked on when I was a little kid and I know which positive wire it is because there's always a knot in it. So my heat shrink here is a little too big, so I'm still waiting for an order to come in. I ran out of my heat shrink finally. That's fine like this. Okay. So the next one will be SCL. So that one's already twisted. Right. Next is SDA. And then the last one here is ground. Alright, so the way this compass now gets hooked up is I removed the GPS on the bottom for here, just to show you guys this. And it's this actually third pin right there is 3 volts. Don't plug it in here or anywhere else because you'll fry it. This is the only 3 volt pin on this guy. So we'll get that one out of the way now. So the red wire from the compass gets plugged there, or whichever wire you had used. And then the one right beside it, pin 4. Is your ground. Then your white is your SDA, or whatever color you might have used. That goes on the first guy. Not sure why I showed you that way. And then the SEL goes right in the middle, which I probably should have put first. So that's the connections like that. And now I can plug in the GPS again, and then just plug it into Mission Planner to confirm everything's working. Alright, so that's the GPS with the original cx20 equipment. So the next part of the video I'm going to show you guys using the Neo GPS and how to mod that. So this GPS is already attached to my quadcopter. So turn it so your pins are facing up on both harnesses. It's good to take a picture of it, then edit it in PaintShop or just draw it out quickly. Doesn't really matter. So this first guy here has 5 pins. If you have one from a Pixhawks, it'll have 6, but that's fine. It just skips a space between the black and the brown on this one. So I'm just going to draw it out quickly. My awesome drawings. So I got 5 pins. So the way these pins, I'll just get a little bit nicer here. Alright, so the color scheme on this one here, it doesn't matter if you have different colors. It's just the way they go. So the first guy here is going to be your 5 volts. The second guy here, regardless of the color, mine's yellow, is going to be your TX. That's connecting right directly to the APM. Technically it's an RX, but that gets a little bit confusing. This guy is your RX. Then there's nothing here. And then the last guy here is your ground. So on mine, I'm just going to color code it now. So the 5 volts is red. TX is yellow. RX is brown. It's good that you draw this out as well. This way you don't forget the colors. Usually it's really just important to remember the red and the black wire in case they use the different colors for the 2 outsides. They usually don't. It's usually always black and red or black and brown or something. And then, so that's for this guy. For this I2C port, again, I'm just going to draw it out. Beautiful drawing. Thank you very much. Notice some people have been remaking my videos with better drawings. Alright, so the first guy here is blank, and the last guy on that side is blank. Your white one, on mine, you might have different colors again. So this white guy here for me is SEL, and this guy here is SDA. Like that. And then my color codes is white, if I can learn how to spell white, and this guy is blue. And that's the way it goes, like that. So I'm going to cut these wires now and then show you guys how to wire it up Alright, so here's with the GPS. I'm probably just going to fast forward this. But so I'm going to use these cables here, and I'm going to take advantage of their lengths. This way I can make this cable just a little bit longer. So my goal here is just to match up wire for wire. So it'll be easier that way. I need a red, I need a yellow, and a black, and I need a blue, and I need a white. Alright, I can cut all these ends off. Alright, so I'm done with the heat shrinking and everything. I had the wrong heat shrink. I'm still waiting for the right size heat shrink. That's why it was a little oversized and you saw me squishing it down. That's why. So now your option is to use your original one here from your cx20 with the 4 pins, and you can just pop up 4 of these guys for the GPS. So these guys here like that, and then just find a 2 for the compass. But I'm just going to leave it like this. Alright, so the connections for this guy goes like this now. On this guy again, it goes TX, RX, 5 volts, ground. The most important two you don't get backwards is the positive and the ground, because if you do, then it'll fry. So I'm just going to be using them individually. That. Then the ground. Then yellow. We'll go in order. See if I can get this out of there. Brown. And yellow. So it's really important you make yourself a color chart, just in case you have different colors than mine. You might have a brown one instead of for your IC2 or I2C, whatever. And then here for your I2C, it goes SCL, and then get back in there, it goes SCL and SDA. So on this guy here, it goes white, and then blue. So like this, when you open up Mission Planner, you shouldn't have a compass error. And if you do, then you can just simply flip these two around. Same with the RX and a TX. If you have no GPS for an error, just flip these two around, not the positives. Just flip these two around, and then you should get GPS no fix instead. Alright, so that's how you get the Neo to work. Alright, so this part of the video is going to be about the LEDs. In every single upgrade I have with concerning the APMs or whatever, you're always going to run into problems with the LEDs if you're going to use the stock LEDs. I have another video on mods, how I did it with this guy, but just to recap a little bit, these two LEDs, the orange and the red, but now it's orange and blue on mine at least. What I did was I picked them up very carefully with tweezers, unsoldered them or whatever, and then turned them around. So this now, on mine at least, I can use my orange, my red, and my 2 greens. So if you're not into that, or if you find that too hard or whatever, the other option is just having 2 lights. So basically your orange and red are going to become 1, and then you'll have your green. So you're going to know when you arm it, and when you have GPS at least. So I'll draw this out like my last video quickly here. So there's the harness, and it usually comes, when I mean a harness, the end here with the 4 wires on it. So the first one here is red, then it's black, then it's red again, and then it's white. So the first red guy here has 2 wires going in it, like that. And then these guys here with your black, red, and white wire, these 3 here are now your ground wires. And then these 2 here now become your switch. So it really depends which wire you cut. Remove it out of the harness and you'll have the 2 wires going into the end or whatever. Just cut one of the wires and then leave one of the ends on, and that becomes your switch. With the other wire that doesn't have an end like this, you're going to have to find another one out of a spare servo wire or something. Just cut the wire or whatever and twist it on and make a new end for the wire you just cut. So this guy here will now look like that. And I can't tell you which one's which, like I said, because I don't know which way you cut it. So one's going to be A7 and one's going to be A6. So it doesn't really matter if you plug it in wrong, just turn them around after. And your 3 grounds. Your 3 grounds on this APM, I usually suggest not doing it, but you might actually want to combine all 3 of them together so you just have one ground wire. Just one single black one. But that's totally up to you guys. The way it goes on the APM is you have a row A5, A6, A7, and it's 5 to the right. So you just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the bottom one here is A7, and then this one will be your A6. Then if you go right next to A7, there's a ground right there, and then there's a ground there, and there's another ground at the end. So you probably won't want to jump all your grounds all over the place. So what I would suggest doing is just flipping your APM this way, and then your motor outputs go here, S1, S2, like that, but you're not using S8, S7, or S6. So I would just attach your 3 grounds on the bottom here. Well, for you, you'd have, 3 grounds right there on the bottom. So just to show you guys that with my way at least, because mine's modded, so I can't really show you totally, but my 3 wires go from A7, A6, and A5. So I have that extra orange light. Oh wow, I gotta jump that out and add it to a 3 harness. Right, so the way mine would go, mine would cover A7, A6, and A5. Like that. And then I'm just going to jump the wires. Hopefully they're long enough to reach to the back of the cx20. That might be a problem. These guys might not actually reach, so you might actually have to do that. But you'll figure that out. And then plug it in quickly, make sure it works. Right, good enough. Alright, so now I'll jump on to the next part. I'll just continue on showing you out of the quad. I'll show all the steps after installing it quickly, but I'll just show this because it's a little bit better detail, I guess. Easier to move things around. So again, on your cx20 receiver, you have A, E, T, R, and 1. So like usual, we just treat them like channels. So A is channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, and channel 5 is your 1. On this guy here, the channels go channel 1, 5 volts ground, and you got your 2, 3, and 4, and your 5 up by itself. So you might want to customize these cables a little bit, but it should work like this. So plug in one cable into A with white at the top, red in the middle, and black at the bottom. And this guy plugs in channel 1 on the first row here like that. Another cable. You'll have some cables like this. You just need another one with 3 wires on it. Like this guy here. And this guy is going to plug in for E, T, and R. So for channel 2, 3, and 4. So this guy plugs in sideways like how it was before. And then this time on this guy with white at the top again. it plugs in right beside this guy. Like that. Then you got one more wire. So what you can do here is you can remove two of the wires out of it. So you're only left with just the one cable like this. Or you can just plug them all in. So with white at the top on this guy, for channel 1, I'll flip him around. He goes like that. And then you just want just the white one. And that guy plugs in for channel 5. So you might have a little bit harder time plugging them in too because they're being plugged in different directions. So you might have to be a little bit forceful with it. Kind of push them to the side a little bit and then push it in. So that guy looks like that just with the one by itself. And then your two gimbal wires. And I'll show the two gimbal wires in the next step. Alright, so I'll show you the power once I'm putting this into the quad, which will actually be the very next step. So I'm just going to jump into building the quad now. So the APM goes in this direction with the arrow pointing up, with the receiver in the front and the motors in the back. The center of the APM on this one, or true center, is actually pretty much center on this one. So you just want to centerize in this box here the best you can, or measure it. And that guy would go like that. So I'm just going to leave it loose before I glue it down and everything, just so I can move things up and down. So I'm not really going to explain too much here. I'll just do it because I just finished explaining with the receiver. So I'll just do it again quickly here. So A, with white at the top, plugs into the receiver side here with white at the top like that. The next cable goes right beside it. And this one covers ET and R. This guy here is just a white wire for channel 5. That's for your return to home and stuff. Like that. And then this guy gets plugged into R. I mean into 1 with white at the top. Gimbal wires. So the white one by itself gets plugged into 2 with white at the top, which I was just putting it backwards. And then the one with the white and the red get plugged into number 3. Like that. So I'm just going to unplug those two for now though, because it's just a little bit too crowded. Now your USB wire, you're going to have to cut it and just cut the original wire and then add some length to it, wire for wire, because you have to actually reach all the way to this side. And then the USB just gets plugged into the side like that. I might actually have to undo this clamp now because it's getting a little tight. So this USB 2 I'm just going to leave off just to keep it clean. Alright, so the motors go like this on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So find your motor 1. And this guy gets plugged into S1. So just count 4 pins. So it would go on the 5th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is also white at the top. Like that. And you have 4 free. Make sure you count them up because you don't want to stick them in the wrong spot there. Number 2 goes to S2. Number 3 is over here. And this, again, white at the top, goes into S3. Just making sure it's plugged in right. You don't want your wires to be too loose here. and then number 4 goes into S4. Alright, I'll leave the lights out of it. I actually do have to get back to the other side just to show the lights, but I doubt you're going to have the custom lights like mine. But the next ones I'll show you is, actually I will show the lights now just to see if they actually fit. So yours are going to be different. Most likely you're going to have 3 grounds and then 2 here instead for your lights. And these guys plug into the APM, the A5, A6, and A7. So again, it's counting 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's okay if you get these ones wrong, because it's just going to change which light blinks or which light comes on for what. And then I'm going to try reaching over here for the ground on the bottom. Like that. And then we'll see if they reach. Actually, I think they will reach. So that's good. Alright, so I'll just push these over to the side, or whatever, maybe leave them. This guy goes here. Now they're just going to keep popping out until I'm done, until I'm glued everything down. Alright, so now I'm going to be using the Neo GPS here with all these wires here. And again, I explained earlier how it goes, so I'll just do it again quickly here. So the red is positive and the black is ground. So the way it goes is ground first, right at the bottom. You got 4 pins there at the bottom. See if I can get this guy in there. Being a pain in the butt. You got your black, red, brown, and then your yellow. Goes right at the end there. And then my 2 compass wires, the blue and the white. Yours will probably be a different color. That's fine. So white goes in the first guy here, in the middle. And then SDA. So that's SEL, SDA. And just make sure you have those 2 empty there for red and white. That's if you're using the Neo. If you're using the original one like I showed earlier, then you'd have to take those 2 spaces up. Alright, so as is, that's how quick it is to do this. There's only one thing left, is the power module. This guy here, which I haven't even opened yet. Which I can't open apparently. Alright. Alright, so the power module. You're going to want to feed it up and underneath just to make sure you know which way is which. Just make sure you plug in your battery or semi-plug in the battery so you know which way it is. So this way you know to feed it up that way. And then this guy plugs into the power module spot. Let's see if I can get this guy up here. So right at the top here, these 4 pins here are for your PM. And the way this guy goes, if I can get it in there. Goes like that with positive and negative at the right side, and then your 2 sensing wires at the end like that. So that's how that gets hooked up. So if you're using this power module, make sure you're not using the B cable, the guy that's plugged in right here. Just tape this guy up and put him to the side. If you don't have a power module, organize it a little bit better again. It's really messy now. So if you don't have a power module, this guy just gets plugged right back into B again. Like that. Alright, so that's it for the install now. Just gonna have to figure a better way of taping this down and cleaning up the wires. But I'll just plug it in to see if it powers up without smoking. Make sure this guy doesn't fall on anything. So if one of your motor keeps beeping, your wires probably aren't pushed in all the way. And it seems my motor 3 is going to have to be pushed back down again. Alright, so I'm going to turn on my remote, just arm it. You'll probably have to go into Mission Planner and do some settings before you can actually arm it, in case there's no GPS signal or whatever. So it already has the default on for motors always spin. So I'll show you guys how to disable that in Mission Planner. Alright, so I actually do have to calibrate the remote still and show you guys a couple of settings in Mission Planner, so I'll get on that. But basically we're done with this part of the video. Alright, so plug in your quadcopter. If you plug in the battery or the USB cable into the quad and it keeps chirping on you and you can't connect, you're going to have to follow my connecting to the cx20 or connecting your APM with a USB cable the safe way. Just follow that video. Basically it's just you have to remove the red wire out of your USB cable. This way you can plug in the USB cable, plus you can plug in a battery at the same time safely. So I'm just going to connect to it and show you a couple of settings in here quickly. Anyways, I'll go to Initial Setup, go to Mandatory Hardware, and do your compass. Now if you put your Neo the same way I did, you're going to have to click on APM and External Compass. And this actually sets the settings for you, so it's already on roll. And then you're going to want to do the compass calibration. Click on this guy and then do a live calibration. I suggest taping your USB cable to one of your legs of your cx20. This way it won't fall out by accident. The next thing is your radio calibration. So you just turn on your remote. And just calibrate it by going around circles. Dip switches. And I have to click on calibrate first. And let's try that again. Alright. Good enough for now. Accelerometer. Click on this calibrate this guy here and just follow the steps one by one. Next is your flight modes. The way they go here is, if your remote's already on, you can kind of flick through it. So if you go 0-2, that should be return to land. If you go 1-2, that should be alt hold. If you go 1-1, that should be stabilize in simple mode. And if you go 0-1, that should be loiter GPS hold. After that's done, click Save Modes. Next, go to Config and Tuning. Well, if you have the power module, you can go to Optional Hardware, go to Battery Monitor, and then here click Voltage and Current. And then you can't really put your amps here. I'll show a picture in my description where to change that. Or maybe I can show you quickly here actually. And then, yeah, but I don't have one, so I'm just going to disable it. Alright, just to jump around a bit, I'll show you guys quickly where that is. So say if it is on there, and right now it says 2800. So if you go to config and tuning, go to full parameter list, and scroll down to the bees. Don't use your scroll wheel in here ever, because you might change random things. Oops, the bees aren't that far. And you're looking for battery current, or battery capacity. So this guy here, change it to your battery size. So say if you have a 5000 or a 5500, change it to 5500, then write your param. And I think you might have to reload them. Go check quickly, see if it changed there. Right, so it's changed, but usually you have to reload them anyways, and that's how you guys change that. But again, I don't have it, so I'm going to set it to disabled. So next, go to config and tuning. And if you can't see this stuff here, the full parameter list and full parameter tree, go underneath planner on this version here, and then look for layout, and then change it from basic to advanced. And then after that, you should be able to get your list and your tree here. So the first thing I always suggest doing is save the file. So just click on the save the file, rename it something. This way all your original settings are backed up. And if you ever want to write it again, just click on this right one, or go click on load from file, and then write them. Alright, so under standard params, for testing purposes, I suggest just unchecking the all. This way you can arm it inside your house without worrying about GPS. Alternatively, just put a check mark in these guys there. I'm not sure about voltage though, because we don't have power module. So that's the way you would do it, like that. So now you might actually have to uncheck voltage as well, in case you're getting a failsafe happening with it. Right, so for now just uncheck them and then click write parameter. Next, go to full parameter list and then scroll down to MOT. So right here where it says MOT spin armed, it's on 70. So just a couple minutes ago when I tried arming it or whatever, the motors were spinning. That's because of that. So just set that to 0, or just leave it if you don't mind them spinning. That's good if you're gonna take off and alt hold or something, I guess. And then write your parameter. So next, go to standard params, and then scroll down to, see if I can find it here. RTL altitude, it's set at 1500 by default. In all my videos, I always suggest setting it to 424, so it changes it from 50 feet to 13 feet. This way on a maiden flight, you don't end up crashing it or getting disoriented and then crashing it or whatever. So it's just a safer setting to have it at 13 feet. But again, that's totally optional. If you're in a park or something and there's trees in the way and you click on return to home, it'll smack right into the tree. So it might not be a good idea. So it's up to you guys. So write param. And I believe that is it for this video. So my end conclusion on this APM here, nothing really beats the APM 2.8 for convenience. It's just a quicker thing to plug in. But this the mini APM I showed last time and this APM here, this one's actually a little bit better than the other one for convenience, especially for grounds. And once you have it all installed, it's usually you don't ever have to touch it again, or your wires have already been modded, so it'll be easier just to plug it into the next one. But the sad thing is you have to cut your wires and stuff like that. Alright guys, I believe that's it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe please, and that's it.